Hey everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of JA's Recipe for Success. I'm Lori Salarulo, and I am your host. I am the proud CEO of Junior Achievement of South Florida, where we teach students all about entrepreneurship, career readiness, and financial literacy, and what could be more important today than financial literacy. Our guest today is someone that I came to meet recently, and since I am a lover of all things ice cream, I was immediately intrigued by his background and his company, and also just some of the things that he's done, which you'll hear about in a minute. Please help me welcome Jonathan Tammara, the president of San Bernardo Ice Cream. And welcome and good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Oh, well, it is my pleasure. So do you eat ice cream for breakfast?
I have on occasion. I can't lie. It has happened. It has happened. My wife will tell you it was one of the top three reasons that she agreed to marry me was ice cream.
I could understand that. For
That's
sure.
fair.
That would get me too.
Yeah, it's solid.
What's that?
I said it's solid. It's a solid reason.
Solid reason. And the fact that she might be supplied with ice cream for the rest of her life, right, is just a great thing. So
Right.
more fun. So tell us, because a lot of people may not know your story or know about San Bernardo. They've probably eaten your ice cream and didn't realize it was yours. So tell us a little story about the company, not too much, but a couple of things.
Of course.
And then who, until now at least, have been your biggest clients?
So my dad started originally as an Italian ice manufacturer in Philadelphia, and then my parents decided it was kind of too cold up there. They moved down to Florida. They put their equipment in the back of an ice cream manufacturing facility. San Bernardo is actually 100-year-old Cuban dairy, and in the 50s, when everybody came over and they set up Little Havana and they sort of recreated all of the things from home. One of the things that they did is they started making San Bernardo ice cream. So the equipment went into the back of the man's manufacturing facility, and shortly after my dad put everything in, they went bankrupt. And today it's hard enough to move manufacturing equipment. Back then it was nearly impossible. So my dad ended up buying the assets and the equipment, and that was how we got into the specialty ice cream business.
Wow.
And in the 70s and the 80s and everything, we had scoop shops all up along the Gulf Coast, all the way into New Orleans, across the street from the campus of Tulane. Like, we went all the way up the Gulf. We were in a few thousand grocery stores in all the markets back then that were a little more Latino-centric in population. Obviously, the makeup of the country in 75 and 85 and going into the early 90s was different than it is today. So we had a lot of that. And then a company came in and bought the retail part of our company. And they converted our scoop shops over to their brand and took some of that stuff away. And we became a behind-the-scenes company in the early 2000s. And we had a non-compete. We weren't allowed to do anything with our name on it. So we do a lot of back-of-the-house stuff, like casinos and some kind of restaurants and things like that. But we also very quietly became the largest ice cream supplier to the cruise lines company in the world. So if any time in the last 25 years you've been on a Royal Caribbean or a Norwegian or a Holland America or any of those big major cruise lines, there's a very good chance that you've had our product. We've been Royal Caribbean's primary global supplier for the last 28 straight years.
Wow. Well, I think that's one thing people do eat a lot of on cruises is ice cream. So I'm sure they all tasted it. So
We
that
do a lot of everything on cruises.
right, that's true. And they love the buffets on cruises. So that, of course, brings me to a question that I'm sure everybody is thinking as they hear this description of the company and your biggest clients is, okay, so there's no cruise industry right now. So how are you doing? What are you doing during this difficult time?
Well, they weren't our only clients,
Good.
but we are primarily a food service company. So it still did impact us because we do a lot of colleges and universities, we do a lot of stadiums, we do a lot of casinos. So all sort of in the same vein, because one of the things that was one of the first initiatives I did when I got here was we need to diversify from just being in cruise, and we worked our way out into some of those other areas. And retail is not enough of our business that the retail boom that some of your more traditional consumer products companies experienced um, was enough to offset that.
Right.
So, and ironically, if you see the little sign behind me, in the beginning of April, we launched a brand new plant based brand called No Bull, and it's in all the Whole Food stores in Florida now. That was our kickoff. And so, what should be the most exciting and dynamic time as my tenure as a president of the company, which is going on almost 10 years, wasn't. I had these visions like when my kids were little. My kids are all, in their teens and 11 and 15 now. But when they were little, my son in the cart in Publix would be like, he would always make me take him down the ice cream aisle. He'd always ask me, where's daddy's stuff? And so in my head there was always this scenario of taking my kids to that aisle and being like, there it is, and that never got to happen. So none of it was how our first initiative into retail, into a major national chain, played out.
Right.
And instead of being, the most exciting time and doing all these demos in all these stores and, running around and meeting all these people and really having this interaction, be like, taste our product, you like it, it's right there, it's on sale, we're local, and the whole thing. It was none of that. It was, and don't get me wrong, we're still super excited about it. It's going really well. We're having a lot of fun with it, but it's tempered because cruise, casino, college, it's all offset by that.
So who would have thought, right there you are, you diversified from the cruise industry to the college, academic organizations and institutions, sports arenas, right? Thinking, wow, I'm across all of these different industries, but who knew that large audiences was going to be
right. Like why would they ever close a casino? People want to gamble 20. I mean, we do half a dozen really large casinos, just in Southern California and on the West Coast, as an example.
Exactly.
So we didn't just
did all the right things, Jonathan.
Yeah, and we even diversified geographically. Southern California, New York, New Jersey. Yeah, this thing was really. We were the perfect COVID-19 small business punching bag. Southern California, New York, New Jersey, primarily food service, cruise line. Like it just was just kind of
the perfect storm.
It was.
So, but you did all the right things as far as diversification, product lines, being across industries. You did all of the right things, and as I always say, the best laid plans of mice and men, right?
Absolutely.
What have you done now to recover, or what are you doing to pivot and recover, and make sure that you stay in business to continue to rebuild?
Well, so obviously one of the first things we did, and we're fortunate enough to be able to take advantage of the PPP. And I know that was a nightmare for a lot of people, and it was not an easy process, and it wasn't really designed for companies like us, because it doesn't cover truck expense, it doesn't cover forklift and heavy equipment expense, and our utilities, for example, are an outsized portion of that 25% non-payroll cap. So when you get into those numbers, don't get me wrong, it helps. But our first primary objective was, how can I make sure that our employees are covered? I didn't want to get rid of anybody. I didn't want to have to furlough people. I didn't want to have to cut their salaries in half. I didn't want to do those things. I didn't want to do it for two reasons. One, we're a family-run business that's been around for going on 50 years. Some of these guys have been with with my dad for 25 and 30 years. Our average employee has probably been with us pretty close to a decade. They're not employees at that point. They're not numbers. They're not names on a piece of paper. It's, Lori, how's the family? Hey, is your kid still playing AAU basketball? Well, did your kid go to college yet? Or, oh my God, your first kid that went to college, or oh, I'm sorry you got divorced, but it didn't work out good for you. I mean, like it's more than that. Because I don't want it to just be like, oh, thank you for coming into work today, Lori. I will see you tomorrow. I don't want to be that guy. But the second thing is, in order for the company and the brand to be successful, and for me on a personal level to be successful, the company has to be successful, right? I can't succeed if the company doesn't succeed. And the company can't succeed if I don't have good people that give it their all. And in order to do that, I have to demand, expect, and receive their best, right? I demand effort. I demand accountability. I need them to show up. I need them to do their best, not make mistakes, be creative, et cetera, et cetera. And I demand that from them 24/7, 365. How could I then turn around in the midst of that kind of literally like apocalyptic flaming chaos is kind of how a lot of the average people looked at it and be like, well, you're out, you're out, you're out,
Right.
I couldn't do that. So my primary objective was to make sure that they could go home knowing they're not going to lose their house, they could feed their families, and the company will be here when this gets through. Because if those three things happen, right, then everything else will work itself out. Because if my employees know they're taken care of, they're going to keep working hard, and they're going to know that I have them covered. And that builds the loyalty and trust that you need so that when things get back to normal and I go back to wanting that 24/7, 365, to make this place hum so we can really do great things, they're going to remember. And again, I didn't do it so they remember it. I do it because it's right.
Right. So besides people, which of course we can't do anything with amazing people on our team, what else are you in PPP, of course?
I'm sorry. Yes. So I don't mean to, so I set out for weeks, like, okay, where can I find alternative revenue streams? Because you can't just magically find places to buy 3-gallon ice cream. So we're doing some box repacking initiatives where there's some people who need things, that come in, 40 in a box, and we repack them 4 boxes of 10. And we're doing some, we've always done work with some local not-for-profits, including the United Way. And we're doing some additional work with them to help get food to some local sites in the community. Obviously, that's something that's a little more short term, but it's slivers. You're not going to replace Royal Caribbean overnight.
Right.
And then obviously the third thing that we did is we actually pivoted into the PPE space. And I know that lots of people do that, and everybody's got a guy, and lots of people are selling masks or whatever. But that's not why or how we ended up in it, and we're not looking at it as a side hustle. I got into it because the parts of our business that stayed open were prisons, hospitals, assisted living, nursing homes, and the ports, which were all places that were hotbeds for having, potential access to the virus.
Right.
I needed to protect my employees. I can't send them out there and have them exposed, and I couldn't find stuff. I ended up having to buy sanitizer for $70 a gallon, plus shipping, and then we had to go out and find the little plastic bottles to fill them in. By the time we were done, it was like $250 for 3 gallons, and it was a lot of work. And when you're trying to figure out how to do X and Y and Z for your business, nobody has the time and the energy and the resources to be like, okay, by the way, how do I find gloves and masks and sanitizers? I literally just got angry, and I was like, forget it. No one should have to work this hard. And we went out and we started finding stuff. So if you were to walk through my warehouse right now, I have 3 or 4 sizes of sanitizer, 2 different kinds of masks, touchless thermometers, 3 sizes of gloves. We've sourced all kinds of specialized things like UV lights and electrostatic spray things. We bring in, surgical gowns for some places that need it. And what we realized is it's a natural pivot for us that we think is something that's going to be able to be sustainable, because our customers are prisons, cruise line, casinos, education venues, they're going to need this stuff. And we built up 5 decades of superior execution in service, sourcing, logistics, and dependability. Our relationships are there, our reputation is there. It was a natural pivot. And as I sort of went through my Rolodex, I realized we're kind of well placed for this anyway. And we've taken on some unique initiatives and opportunities. Um, and we're going to try and see if we can make this something that has some legs. Because, like I said, I mean, people shouldn't have to pay 80, 90 and a buck a mask. I mean, if your entire order is one little box of masks, there's freight and tax, and there's only so much you can do.
Right.
But I mean,
So for those watching, and when this goes out to the social media, are you supplying or selling just locally, nationally, for those who, because some of us, like us, junior achievement, we will go back into that building and we'll need these supplies, because I think that some of them are going to be part of our new norm for quite some time. So is this a local, are you a local supplier or a national supplier? And I love the way you did.
we're a national supplier.
Good.
We have the capabilities of doing it everywhere, and we're going to give good and fair pricing. And then what we do is we also offer flexibility, because we understand that not everybody needs 1,000 masks and 1,000 gloves and 1,000 this. So we offer people the ability to put together like kits and different things. And we partner with communities, we partner with different organizations to allow them to put some stuff together. And this whole thing moved just so fast for us. I don't even know if the website is up yet. It's going to be New Day Care Products, because unfortunately we're kind of living in a new day.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how it's going to be.
I love it.
If it's not up today, it's going to be up this week.
Well, I'll tell you, if your pricing is good, there are going to be a lot of companies, I think, coming to you. I know for sure nonprofits, especially, which you're involved with through United Way. Those of us that are serving large numbers of people, children, we're going to need those products. So
absolutely,
I'm glad that you have a chance to share that with everyone.
I appreciate the opportunity.
You're not forgetting about the ice cream business, are you?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No. We have been promoting, and we're having so much fun with the stuff from Noble. And I love seeing us get tagged in social media. The other day, someone ordered online up in New York, and they tagged us. And when I have time, I read these exchanges online, and I'm reading, I've abandoned So Delicious. This is the best non-dairy I ever had. And underneath it's like, me too. And I mean, and I love it, and we're a dairy company that has stepped into that plant-based space. And we're the only dairy company that has fully embraced and launched a brand. Haagen-Dazs has a couple of flavors. Ben & Jerry's has a couple of flavors, but they're still under Haagen-Dazs. They're still under Ben & Jerry's. And the other guys in the space are Not a Moo and Oatly and So Delicious. They're non-dairy guys. We're the only one that is a dairy company that has jumped full bore in and said, we're going to give you an entire brand and an entire line, and we're going to run straight down that hole.
Right.
We just got vegan certified. The ingredients are non-GMO. We just submitted all our paperwork for that certification, but we can't put it on the package because that process can take 6 or 8 months of vetting. So non-GMO ingredients, but not non-GMO project certified, because that process is a process.
Right.
But people eat it.
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I have to ask.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
Is your favorite ice cream still with San Bernardo, or is it now with Noble? Who are you loyal to?
I am a servant to two masters, to be honest with you. Over time, I have ironically gotten to the point in my life that I eat less and less dairy for some health reasons. I had some respiratory issues. I developed something called vocal cord dysfunction, so I'm a little bit raspy. raspy in my throat. Um, and I've had to pretty much give up gluten and dairy as a result of it. And it's not, we didn't develop the product because of my needs, but the way we approached developing, because I knew about my gluten problem at the time. I didn't know about my sort of dairy sidebar, but we developed it, and our approach to it was just because you have limitations and restrictions, whether they're health based and you have to, or whether they're voluntary and you embrace a vegan, vegetarian, or plant based lifestyle for choice, for environmental, or or activism, or whatever, you shouldn't have to sacrifice taste and quality. And
Right.
even though we're dairy guys by background, and there's always going to be a percentage of people that are going to say we're not going to eat that brand because of that, and I respect that, right? There's nothing I can do about who we are and how we got here. But the reason that we nailed taste, texture, and the whole thing, we've been making ice cream for 50 years.
Exactly. You're the
We should,
expert. So then, of course, this is always my final question to everyone. And so being in the dairy business, especially, you know that there's a main ingredient, right, for ice cream. What is your main ingredient to success?
do the right thing. That's it.
I love it.
Do the right thing. I mean, and Steve Noodleberg's the gentleman who introduced us, and I've been saying that to him since we first met, and it's one of the reasons that we clicked, because at the bottom line is, if you make a decision to do the right thing, it usually should work itself out. We set out to make, for example, a non-dairy product that mirrored, mimicked, and tasted, right? Mouthfeel, texture, creaminess, taste, as close to ice cream as we could do it. So it's not going to be the cheapest ingredient profile product that's out there. It took a little bit, it was more than a year of researching it. So there's things that had to go in it. So it wasn't what's the fastest product we can make. It's not the right thing to do. What's the cheapest product we can make? It's not the right thing to do. And sometimes, as an example, you have to eat a little bit of margin on the back end because you want a certain retail price. Sometimes doing the right thing isn't the best thing for the company in an immediate or a global sense, right? Doing the right thing is, what's the right thing to get the product to where you want it to be? What's the right thing for your employees? Just the way that I answered it to my to the gentleman who runs my marketing, when he's like, well, what's sort of your ethos? And I was like, do the right thing. And he's like, well, what does that mean? And I was like, I feel like that answers itself. If you have to ask, are we doing the right thing? You've answered your own question, and you're not. Because it really shouldn't be gray.
Well, I love that. And I think, listen, after now, speaking with you a few times, it's obvious to see that you are committed to doing the right thing, not only for your people, for your company, for our community through your work with Project Lifeline and United Way, for your family. And so I truly admire that. And I think it is a value that we need more of these days. And so thank you for that. Thank you for your commitment to that. So, Jonathan, one thing for sure, we will share. No bull. I am definitely going to Whole Foods to get some. I definitely have to try this. And so my son also sometimes has a little bit of allergy to dairy products. So we're going to try it. But I also want to get the PPE information out there. So once that website is up, let us know so that we can share that with our followers.
If it's not today, it'll be tomorrow. Like they've been working around the clock to get it finished. And with the Noble, so Whole Foods carries 4 flavors. We do have 8. So if you're not in Florida, or you want like our peanut butter or our caramel apple pie or some of the stuff that Whole Foods does not carry, it's eatnobull.com.
And you ship it?
We do.
Individually? Like if I just want 2 containers?
Like a 6 or an 8 pack we'll ship. We can't ship 1 or 2.
Right.
Styrofoam and a dry ice and the logistics of it just becomes too hard or expensive. But we'll do a 6 or an 8 pack.
Well, I love it. Do the right thing and no bull. I love both those sayings. So if you are interested in plant-based ice cream, check out No Bull over at Whole Foods if you're here in South Florida. And Jonathan, it has been absolutely a pleasure. I know we will continue to stay in touch.
Definitely.
Anything we can do to help to get the word out there on PPE
Absolutely.
products, we
And,
will.
and next time when you have me back, which hopefully you will, we can do a little bit more questions, sort of on straight up old school entrepreneurship, if you want, and
Absolutely.
some of the things I did wrong when I started my first company, the fines I got for forgetting to pay local licensing fees, and all of those fun kinds of things. So
I would love
yeah,
to.
absolutely.
We love to do, and also I'd love to get you in front of our students to talk about those things, because I think
Absolutely. Yeah.
our entrepreneurial students now understand the struggles that it takes to start and run and manage a company. And
100%.
I think your story would be really resonate for them. So
I appreciate that.
definitely. Have an amazing day.
Thank you.
And good luck in everything you're doing. And you
I
and I
appreciate
will
it.
stay in touch for sure.
Thank you. Yes, definitely. We'll talk again. Have a great week. Thanks for
You
having me.
too. Thanks
Take care.
everyone for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode of JA's Recipe for Success. Have an amazing day, everyone.